Hello, and thank you for clicking on this video. It's Anna, and I'm here with 3 vases that need a facelift. The vases need the facelift, just to be clear. Each vase is going to get a different treatment, but as they're all going into the same room, they are going to sort of match. You may recognize this little gray vase from a previous video where I also upcycled 3 vases. I'll leave that link somewhere. I like to upcycle vases, obviously. And I really like the shape of this vase. I just need it now in more of a cream color. These are some of my supplies. My trusty vat of drywall compound, an old cable I thrifted for 80 cents, rope, textured stone spray paint, which I'm so excited to use, random paints, and primer. I'm starting with the largest vase. My inspiration is an old alabaster jar. This is actually my first baking soda paint project from the beginning of the very first lockdown 2 years ago. I painted it the same color as the walls, so that just made it look lost. I think painting it a light color is going to be the solution. For this vase, I'll be mixing drywall compound with water and paint. I applied a skim coat of a mixture all over the vase and let that dry. I chose to spray paint the bottom because I feel the drywall compound will either chip off or scratch the wood surface I'll be placing this vase on. The vase was originally electric blue, and just seeing that on the inside annoyed me, enough to hide it with some spray paint. Once the spray paint dried, I brought everything in, including the turntable. That turntable just makes my life so much easier. I mixed up 3 batches of drywall compound with different cream paints. I didn't worry about mixing too well because I'm looking for color variation to make the vase look more like a natural stone. This does look ridiculous. Terrible and ridiculous. I think it looks kind of like a bad cow pattern. But I dabbed globs of all 3 of my mixes all over the vase, random and different sizes until I emptied all 3 containers. It's time for my genius idea to stop looking like a spotted farm animal and transform into decor. With a spatula, I started to blend the globs together. This allows the different shades of cream to blend into each other and create more variation in color. I absolutely love this method over what I did previously, like in the restoration hardware dupe video that we just released, link here. It's so much quicker because I didn't need several layers. One layer has all the colors, they blend together much more naturally, and I only need to wait for 1 layer to dry. Because the drywall compound wasn't dry, I could add more color variation by blending the paint directly onto the vase. This is the method I'm sticking with for any project where I'm looking for a natural stone look. It's easier, it's quicker, and the results are better. Usually doesn't happen that way. I knew that sanding would make a dust storm, so even though it was chilly, I sanded outside. I did find some cracks that needed touching up, but really the 1 coat of mixed colors was enough, and it had the look I wanted. I sealed it with a matte sealer. The sealer does make the colors pop a lot, but that tones down once it's dry. And it does dry much closer to the muted original colors. The final touch to the vase is some rope around the rim. I just need to cut it to size and hot glue it in place. Vase 1 is done and it turned out exactly as I was hoping. Now, 2 more to go. The first step for both of them is to give them a light sanding and a coat of primer. After that, they'll take totally different paths. Primer is dry and it's time for these 2 vases to part ways. So I'm going to put this vase aside for now. Like I've said before, I think this has a great shape, but I know in a previous life it had a lid. Unfortunately, when I thrifted it, the lid was already gone. I don't want it to look obvious that a lid is missing, so I think a rounded lip will do the trick. I put a lot of thought into this, and this is where my thrifted cable comes into play. Do you think that'll work? I think so. I'm going to attach this with some clamps, E6000, and hot glue. So let's cut it to size. I've never cut a S-video cable before, but maybe scissors will do the trick. Ooh. Did it! That's what it looks like inside. Cool. Yeah. I've left this sitting here clamped for hours, but it's the moment of truth. Will my cable stay stuck onto the vase? Look. So, if you're ever wondering if you can glue cables to vases, yes, you totally can. I don't know why anyone else ever would, but you can do it. I need to make it look like it's one unit. There's clearly a difference. You can see a difference where the cable attaches. So I'm going to use, silicone. And the awesome thing, I've actually never really used caulking before. I've never used a caulking gun, but I will today. This worked. I am so surprised. I think Ralph will be pretty surprised when he's editing this and he sees me with a caulking gun, some cables. But anyways, the caulking needs to dry for 2 hours and then I'm going to prime it and then the finishing coat. Once the primer was dry, I sprayed on a light cream base coat. The vase is ready for its finishing touch, which is the spray-on stone textured finish. The instructions are only a little bit different for this spray paint. You have to wait 15 minutes between coats. Easy enough. I'm so excited to try this. This is one coat. You definitely have to spray a base color underneath. Vase number 2 is done. Not only is this the first time I used a cable or caulking on a vase, but it's also the first time I used this stone spray effect. And I did learn a few things. Number 1, the lid of the spray can does correctly represent the color and spray of what's inside the can. What you see is what you get, and I like that. Number 2, make sure you have a good base coat before you apply the textured finish. The coverage of the stone finish just isn't as thick as regular spray paint, so you either need a lot of coats or you need a good base coat. I actually had to go back and do another base coat in between my 2 layers of the textured finish, but I love how it turned out. And number 3, the stone finish takes a long time to dry. That's what I've noticed, so just give yourself a little extra time, like a whole extra day. Now on to the last and final vase, vase number 3. I've had this vase for years, and in our house move, it did get chipped. So I think it's time it needs a little bit of a facelift. My inspiration for this vase are garden urns on plinths. So I need a plinth.
Once I understood what Anna had in mind for a plinth, I found some trim pieces and leftover boards to use in making it. The design involved creating a 6-sided box and then trimming out the top and bottom. I started by cutting the top and bottom pieces to be 2 perfect squares, or as close as possible with scrap pieces of wood. Next, I cut the 4 side pieces, all the same sized rectangles. Again, I was using scrap pieces of wood, so there were some minor variations. With the 6 pieces cut out, I assembled them using glue and a brad nailer. To help with putting things together, several corner clamps were used to maintain 90 degrees between the pieces. Once the box was assembled and the glue was drying, I focused on cutting the trim to be placed on the top and bottom of the box. Once all the trim was cut to size, I attached the trim to the box with wood glue and secured with clamps while everything set.
As we use scrap wood and I want this to look like solid stone, there's a lot of filling for me to do. I'm using spackle instead of wood filler because spackle is easier to sand and I'm out of wood filler. I was just about to start priming the plinth and I realized this would be a better time to attach the 2 together and then just prime the whole thing as one unit. So I grabbed my E6000 and I'm ready to glue. It's getting a little bit late, but I really want to get the first coat on so it can dry overnight. And I'm using a new paint called Trusted Taupe. Let's see how it looks. I have no clue what happened to this can, but it made a popping noise. Like it just, I don't know, like something just popped. I saw something fly out of the can and now it sprays out like super heavy. Oh, it's not great, but thankfully this is just the base coat and I do get to cover it with the textured stone. So we will see how this all turns out. What a weird can. But the color's good. How awesome did this turn out? This was the vase I was least confident in, and it turned out to be my favorite. Well, now I have 3 sort of new vases to go style. So while I'm doing that, how about you leave me a comment, and if you think the vases turned out all right, give this video a like. And if you haven't already, remember to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Now I'm going downstairs because I'm gonna make a pasta salad. I'm gonna roast some mushrooms with onions, and I have roasted red peppers from my in-laws to thaw and chop up, throw in there. Mix that all together. Sounds good. It's kind of lunchtime, so I'm hungry. Okay, this is gonna rest, and I'm gonna go cook. I love you. You're so pretty. Okay. I did it. At least I think I did.